Excellencies, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen. Es ist lange her, dass ich Deutsch gesprochen habe, aber heute Abend für meinen deutschen Freund Albrecht, ich werde es versuchen. Sie sehen, wie weit ich bereit bin, um die Freundschaft zwischen Frankreich und Deutschland zu feiern. And this is it. This is as far as I can go. But no doubt that Albrecht can beat me at this little game I'm launching, since he took his efforts to bring France and Germany together so much at heart that he made the wise choice to marry a beautiful French lady. Wise man he is. As you can tell, today is a special and emotional celebration, as it always is. It gives us the opportunity to remember at all times the possible ways to find it in our hearts, forgiveness and reconciliation, to find peace, stability, friendship, no matter the circumstance. Indeed, on the 22nd of January 1963, less than 20 years after World War II, which was the bloodiest conflict of all times, General Charles de Gaulle, the President of the French Republic, and Dr. Konrad Adenauer, Chancellor of the French Republic, Federal, and not French, Republic of Germany, signed a treaty. And this treaty made history. It sealed the irrevocable commitment of Germany and France for peace and friendship between our citizens and between European countries after the long journey of reconciliation. We are very proud to celebrate today the 55th anniversary of the signing of the Élysée Treaty. This bold, ambitious text lived through history and has been guiding our actions for decades. So far, this strong friendship between our two countries has proven to be solid and reliable in good times and bad times. And it is hand in hand that we can act and look forward. One of the strongest political symbols of our relationship is a 1984 picture, which is displayed tonight. The French President François Mitterrand and the German Chancellor Helmut Kohl holding hands, standing in front of the memorial of the Battle of Verdun, the bloodiest of World War I. Some people call this treaty the Treaty of Friendship, and a treaty that addresses three main goals: to seal reconciliation between France and Germany once and for all, to create a genuine friendship between our two countries, and to foster the construction of a united Europe, which is a goal of the two people. And we did, indeed. We reconciled. Reconciliation is a cornerstone for the history of both our countries. We were adversaries. We were hereditary enemies. We lost so many soldiers, so many citizens, and we stopped. We became friends. Germany and France stand today in front of you, shoulder to shoulder, in Uganda, in every country in Africa, in Europe, and in the world. And when it comes to Albrecht and I, it was friendship at first sight. Yeah. Yes, it was. We built Europe. We also should remember what Laurent Fabius and Guido Westerwelle said on the 50th anniversary of the treaty. They said, what was true yesterday is still today. Young people are the key to our common future. Our mission is still to teach both countries' young people the advantages and importance of getting to know their neighbor. Our friendship is naturally extended to Uganda for the purpose of sharing, enjoying and supporting each other for a better future. And as history echoes itself, it is also worth remembering that 1963 not only sealed Germany and France reconciliation, but also marked the beginning of another long journey initiated by the newly independent African countries, the rise of a sovereign Africa, aspiring with the same strength and spirit to unity and peace. Uganda has also experienced war in its midst. The reconciliation is still in process through different approaches, like the amnesty given by the government.
Stéphanie, c'était très touchant et dans l'intérêt de tous nos invités, je vais quand même continuer en anglais. My dear friends, Stéphanie is not the only one who gets Germany and France mixed up when it comes to Konrad Adenauer. In fact, Konrad Adenauer himself, when he went 55 years ago to Paris to sign this treaty, traveled, of course, with his diplomats. And although diplomats never make any mistakes, one of them did, and he forgot the treaty paper. Because each country has particular paper on which treaties are being printed on. So they had a moment of despair, and then Adenauer said, well, let's the French to ask for their paper, and I can sign on their paper this treaty. So, Stephanie, you're in good company. In front of our eyes. Why do we celebrate our special relationship in Uganda? Why do the two of us believe that it is more than a bilateral affair of two neighbors? Neighbors whose history has pitted them against each other for centuries before they finally came to the rather sensible conclusion that there were more benefits to gain from peace than from war. We celebrate, and I think we do it for the third time, although I wasn't part of that. For me, it's the first time. We celebrate once in the French garden and once in the German garden every year on the 22nd of January, because Europe's development is important for Uganda's development. Because, dear friends, Europe must quickly reascertain its place in the world. A world without clear leadership, a world with multiple power centers, a world facing unprecedented challenges from overpopulation, climate change, and the need to master digitalization to avoid digitalization mastering us. Germany and France are at the heart of an old continent that needs to renew itself if it wants to matter in the future. A continent which can only matter if Europeans stand united. And they will not stand united unless France and Germany stand united. Uganda, your beautiful country, despite all her important steps towards modernization, towards a better life for her citizens, Uganda needs to be able to count on Europe. Not merely in development in the classical sense, that would be too narrow a perspective in 2018, but in full partnership between grown-up players, which on the European side come in two different shapes. As individual nations, France, Germany and all the others will, after all, continue to exist, but also as the European Union, representing the one and only continent with which Africa does enjoy a special relation, and that will remain so. If Europe wants to continue to matter, a restart is required, and some would even say a reset, if you allow me to venture into IT language. Noises in this respect from Paris and Berlin are now loud and clear. First, President Macron made a far-reaching speech on Europe at Sorbonne University last September. He had to wait a little until Chancellor Merkel was ready to respond for reasons that I will not dwell on more than necessary. However, in the past days, the Chancellor endorsed most of President Macron's proposals. Hence, we may expect major initiatives during 2018 coming out of Berlin and Paris simultaneously, asking our fellow Europeans to join in. Maybe, dear Ugandan friends, one or two of the new Franco-German ideas to come could be of interest to you while you are reflecting on making your relations with your East African neighbors more special as well. Cross-border pipelines of good vibrations, perhaps, who knows? I think the fantasy is without limits, and we can only show you what we are doing. We are not telling you what you could do. Just watch us and observe us. Dear friends, Stephanie and I were part of a most interesting trip to Karamoja 6 weeks ago, very kindly organized by our friend Attilio Pacifici, the European ambassador to Uganda. We had a very dense program, and we met the people of Karamoja, and we had very memorable experiences there. So we shared their happiness and relief about the peace that has been achieved in that part of Uganda, but we also saw a number of problems they are facing, and that sometimes have their origins in Kampala and beyond. When all of a sudden a province that was long closed is open, and the Uganda Law Society showed us that with the benevolent work, pro bono work, of a number of young lawyers from Kampala, they had been able to help these Karimajong, otherwise not used to modern land grabbing, and to tell them that they had rights. So these young lawyers trained paralegals. I think everybody knows what a paralegal is, because one will now be a Princess of Windsor very soon, at least from the TV series Suits. So they trained paralegals, and we have been very impressed by the amount of encouragement and knowledge the young lawyers from Kampala were able to give to these young people from Karamoja, who now understood that there are indeed ways by which you can defend yourselves when land grabbers try to take advantage of your vulnerability. So Stephanie and I decided that it should be symbolically 3 of these young lawyers from Kampala and 3 of the paralegals from Karamoja who should be honored, because we have established an award some time ago. I think you know the exact name of the award, because it now elapses me.
It's a Peace and Reconciliation Award. We could even say France, Germany, Peace and Reconciliation Award is a bit too long, but Peace and Reconciliation Award.
Well, let's call it the Élysée Award, and we will now hand this over to our 6 especially honored young people tonight. Let me call them to the podium here, and let us hand over to them the tokens of this award that we've prepared for them. And I would like all of you to be aware of this very peculiar situation and join in everybody's efforts in Uganda and also from abroad to make Karamoja more resilient, to make transition to modern times easier. Now give the opportunity to the Uganda Law Society to say a few words at this moment where we all focus for a little bit on Karamoja. Hank, we need you. Sorry. And you go behind.
I can't go behind.
You took us to that meeting in the evening.
I
know. Well, now I can take you.
And in Uganda,
All right.
ourselves but others. And we decided to create an award called the Peace and Reconciliation Award, and where we're going to find some Ugandan people who are working every day to end conflicts. And tonight, it is the paralegal workers of the Ugandan Law Society who are resolving conflict in Kalamoja.
Well, you see, beyond the very special relation between Germany and France, I think you must look at Europe as a whole. Europe is composed of many nations, and the European Union currently has 28 members, and some are smaller, some are larger. Germany and France happen to be on the continent of Europe, I'm not talking about Britain, on the continent of Europe, the two heavyweights. And if these two don't understand each other, if these two don't walk ahead hand in hand and with shared goals and objectives, then the rest of Europe cannot follow, cannot align itself, cannot really manage something that is European. So both our governments are fully aware of this enormous responsibility to stay as close together as we can. We are very different culturally. For 1,000 years we have had different developments, but we have come to the conclusion that we have more benefits to share if we do it peacefully and in a very, very close cooperation. So then the other Europeans find it easier to join. Maybe they will question us, maybe they have different ideas, but if we quarrel, nothing works. And this is why we never want to. Well, I never give advice to African politicians. I think 60 years after decolonization, Africans are perfectly able to look after themselves. If I'm asked, I can perhaps tell stories. I can tell the story of German-French reconciliation. Perhaps just to give an example of how one can go about if one is in conflict. So if you have two African countries, or within one African country, two major groups, which is more often the case, fighting each other. Look at South Sudan, look at Somalia. Then, of course, the advice is try to convince yourselves that you have more to benefit from peace than from war. And once you come to that conclusion, then there is a chance. But to get there is very hard. We can only assist Africans who are not at peace with themselves. Thank God that's not the case for Uganda. Must find their ways themselves. We're always there to assist.
Maybe not talking about Uganda, but talking about East Africa. You know, because France and Germany, as my dear friend Albert just said, we are at the heart of the European construction. Now my next question is, who are the countries at the heart of the East Africa construction? And I believe Uganda is somewhere there. With Kenya and Tanzania, look at this triangle of countries. They used to be so much stronger East Africa. You used to share a railway. You used to share a currency.
You are sharing a lake.
An airline. And you're sharing a lake. So what about integrating East Africa in a way that used to be before Amin, because that's more or less what happened, and everything fell apart. But there's something along the lines of building a collective group, like Europe is trying, where in a collective group you will have the locomotive, you will have the leaders of that group. And Germany and France happen to be the leaders because we fought so much that if we keep on fighting, nothing is going to work. But East Africa is something to think about. Do you feel more Uganda, actually, Ugandans, or East Africans? We are strong in ourselves. Albrecht is certainly German, but he's also from a particular part of Germany. I am French, I'm also from a particular part of France, but I'm above all French. And even I'm saying right now, possibly my children will be above all European. And this is something that is going on in your mind. Who do you feel like? Your tribe, your country, or your region? The closer you are to feeling part of your region, or ourselves as European, the stronger you will be facing the rest of the world.
So if I may give some advice, because you've asked me for advice, the next generation should do everything. further breakdown customs is something backward in the trade. If you can, I have cooperation within the East African,
including pretty insulting words with regards to African countries, and my president certainly reacted that there's no need to use such words. I can only attest to the recent position that my president has taken, which is to say stability in Africa is paramount for European countries. Number one, stability and security. Now, meddling into political affairs in Africa has more or less never done any good in the long run. So obviously, to us, and let's see what Germany has to say there, the people are in charge of electing and promoting their own leaders, building their own generation of leaders, and then have a process which will bring the proper governance to their country. As long as there is stability, there is peace, there is something stable to build on, that's something that we wish as far as we're concerned from a European perspective. But it is up to the people in democracies to take the matters in their hand and vote and elect, and also the civil society to be free, and the media to also speak out. And when you have this type of countries, then democracy is working at full strength.
How about from the German perspective?
If you look at the map of the world, you see a huge continent, Africa, and a small continent north of it, Europe. These continents are linked as much as North America and South America. We are two, but we are one. And many Europeans have not understood that yet. Some of us have understood it the hard way with all the dramas they had on the Mediterranean Sea with the people drowning there. But I think now Europe is beginning to understand that Africa is there for good and that we are really neighbors. Now, what does that mean for the next generations? Both continents have very different challenges to face. Some of them are the same, but I can see a new partnership that is carried by the new generations who will not find that extraordinary anymore, but who will find that normal that we are neighbors of this kind.
Throws light in his head and brain to, in future, see Africa and other countries in different lights.
Honorable, there is one issue of some of the workers who want to go to Libya to work, but they have been delayed because of your office. Do you have any response to that? What's the status of Libya? Are you going to go there and work?
The status of Libya is still very insecure, and one cannot guarantee the security of individuals who go to Libya. So I would urge anybody who wants to go to Libya to go to work, to go very cautiously, with the view that they will work in areas which are considered safe, and they will, while there, refrain themselves and make sure that they stay indoors most of the time, or is indoors most of the time where they work and operate from.
There are some gentlemen who are there at your ministry, but they have been frustrated moving back and forth. They're not getting the right answer from the ministry.
What question? What is that? What is that?
They want to go to Libya. They were
That's what I'm
supposed to
telling
travel
you.
last year.
That's what I'm telling you. If you want to go to Libya, you're most traveling at your own risks. Okay? Libya at the moment is insecure. So if you choose to go to Libya, go and travel to Libya cautiously. If you choose to go and work there, go there cautiously and make sure that while you're there, you stay in areas where are considered secure, and most of the time you stay indoors where you work and indoors where you stay and live abroad.
Thank you very much.